Good afternoon, this is Bob with County Records Research, and we're about to get started with our presentation for our Friday webinar. Today is September 30th, 2016. We are moving right along this year. 2016 is moving very quickly. We're seeing a lot of opportunities, and I've got the video portion of the screen up and running. You can see that I'm getting ready to log into my account. It's 2:29 on Friday afternoon, September 30th. For those of you, hello, happy Friday to you, Tom. For those of you that are going to be viewing this information on our YouTube channel, we post we create a new presentation every Wednesday and every Friday. Wednesdays at 2:30 to 3:30, we talk about basic functions of our website. We demonstrate how to set up searches, how to save properties, and what all these buttons over here on the left-hand side do to help you use the website as a research tool, and also delve into our various resources to learn more about the process of foreclosures and how to buy them. For those of you that join us on Fridays, Fridays is a shopping trip, and that's what we're getting ready to do right now. Is we're going to go shopping. So I've just logged into my account using my username and password, and then I've plugged in the numbers and letters that are visible in the box here. Now, if I've got them right, it looks like I didn't have them right, so I'm going to turn that 3 into an S, and let's see if I got it right now. There you go. So anytime you hit that change image option, you can change that image if it's too unclear to see. And I almost had an issue there because I thought an S was a 3, and I just fixed it. So now I'm logged into my account under Bob Baker, so it says welcome Bob Baker. Once we log into our account on the site, we see a list of all our available counties. We see property search here on the lower right hand side of our screen. It's also on the left hand side. This is our toolbar. Those of you that have joined us for Wednesday presentations, you know this is our toolbar. So property search is always going to be here on the left, because as I change screens on the site, this image below will disappear, but I'll still have the one on the left hand side. Also on the left hand side, we have my account, where I can go to my account and view my renewal date down here at the bottom. I can save a few things to change. Just to be clear, I can't change my password from this screen. I have to call in or email to change my username or my password, and that's simply a security feature that we built into the site. For those of you that are sharing an account or a broker account where you might have multiple parties and somebody might leave the team. So we always want to make sure you know that we protect your security by not letting any Tom, Dick, or Harry go in here and change your password. So this is my account information. Below that is my searches. This is the saved searches that I've created on my Wednesday presentations. And these are searches we've created in the site by going to our property search screen and creating a search based on a certain criteria. Here's my Fountain Valley search. This is Orange County. If I click on my saved search, then it transports me from my saved search screen to my regular property search screen. But more than that, it populates the search. It chooses my county for me. In this case, this was Orange County. And if I scroll down, here's a map, and this is my polygon that I set up to search Fountain Valley. This is when I was actually looking for my property that we wound up buying about 2 years ago. So what I did is I set up my parameter for my search by literally creating a box. Now, once I create this box, and it doesn't have to be 4 sides like you see here. This is a trapezoid. It's an uneven trapezoid, obviously. You'll notice that for 2 of the lines, I basically followed one of the streets here, Magnolia Street, and then I went up here and just below Edinger Avenue, I made a line just below that spot right there and just carried it across the park over to this point. And then I just brought my line down diagonally, keeping it to the left side of this canal. And then once I reached this point, I just kind of sloppily did a connection. So I could have gone down directly to the street here and made a straight line. I instead just kind of chose this diagonal here. As you see, if I get deeper in, I can get real tight with these definitions on these polygons. As a matter of fact, if I want to go in here, let's see if I can delete the last point. There I did. Now see what I just did is I took this polygon that had already been pre-formatted on a previous search and I just got rid of one of the lines. In fact, I can get rid of the whole polygon if I wanted to. Now, that doesn't change the saved search that I'd created from before. It just merely means that once I jump into my saved search, I can change the parameters a little bit. For instance, on this search, now I just scrolled up a little bit. On this search, because all the parameters were memorized from my previous search, notice I didn't put a lot in here. I tend to be very loose with my searches in terms of I don't put in a lot of hard, solid parameters, but that doesn't mean I can't add them in after the fact. Okay, so I can go in after I've set up a search and saved it and then entered it, and then I can modify it. So I can go in and I can say, okay, I've got Orange County selected, I've got upcoming trustees sales selected, which was the terms of my search, and I can go in here and I can specify 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and to any. Now notice that we have 2 boxes. There's several sections here where we got 2 boxes. That's a range. So when I say 3 in the first box to any, that means that I'm saying 3 bedroom and above and 2 bathroom and above. Similarly, if I got rid of that, I can click the little blue checks and I get any again. I can go over here and I can say up to 3 bedroom, 2 bath. So that says anything less than, like a studio or a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom, up to a 3 bedroom. So I'm setting certain limiting factors when I fill in boxes here. So it's just important to remember the more that we fill in the boxes, the tighter the range of properties we can potentially pick up in our search, simply because we are tightening the outside of the box. So to speak, of the potential properties we can pick up, or we're making our net smaller, to use a different analogy, because if I define my terms more tightly, then less properties will match those terms. So bottom line is, now I'm going to go ahead and uncheck those. I can go down and I can specify that I only want to see apartment for multifamily. So let's just do this. Let's go ahead and shop for apartments in Orange County. Now notice that polygon that I created before when I saved that other search, now it's still there in the ether world, okay? It's out there on my saved search. So once I'm done here, if I go back and click on my Fountain Valley search, that polygon will reformat. Nothing I saved before has been lost, okay? I've just cleaned the slate so I'm not searching by my polygon. So I've got apartment selected, upcoming sales. Now another point, since I clicked on a saved search, that saved search automatically populates when I click on it with a range that will give me a result that's going to match my expectations. Now with with upcoming trustee sales, that range is going to be 2 weeks in the future, starting with today's date. So notice my auction dates are today's date through the 15th of October. Now, that's a fine range if I'm simply searching a general search, okay? Once I start tightening my net by either selecting a use code of apartment, like I just did, or by specifying a polygon, like I had before that I just got rid of, then what I'm doing is I'm going to want to expand that net in another fashion. So if I've tightened my range by saying I only want apartments, let me broaden my range back out by pushing my date range out forward to October 31st. Okay, so I pushed my exterior range of my dates of auctions to the 31st of October. Now, one more thing I want to change, and I bet some of you are already guessing this, is today's date. These auctions already went by. They've either been canceled or they sold, or they've been postponed into the future. And I'm going to assume that the house or the apartment, multifamily, fourplex, or whatever that I'm going to potentially buy has been pushed into the future. So now I'm going to push this first date to October 3rd. Now notice when I open up the calendar, I move kind of quick because I'm so used to doing this. So notice once I open up the calendar, I go and there's the word today right under the month, and there's a single arrowhead pointing to the right. That's my future arrowhead, and I'm going to click it. Now I'm in October. Now I'm going to go to Monday, October 3rd. So now what I've just done is I've just altered my date range. So I've got almost a full month, but I don't have to worry that I missed the auction today. I'm focusing on what's going to go to auction on Monday. Now, so I've got my auction date range of 10/3 to 10/31. I've got the entire county of Orange County as my zone, right? And then I'm just going to go ahead and hit my search without polygon because I got rid of that polygon, right? And I'm going to hit search. Now, what this is going to give me is the results of the search parameters I defined. Now, for purposes of the presentation, we're using Google Chrome as our browser. Google Chrome allows me to have multiple screens open, and up on top you can see where I've still got my main page, County Records Research, and then I've got my search results tab for the screen for my list of properties. Now this is our standard view. This is my preferred way to research my properties. Once I've defined a search and I want to drop it into something else, I can drop it into Excel. But in the standard view, I have access to all the features and benefits of the site that allow me to view things that help me speed through the process of evaluating my deals. So I've got a map on the top that shows me where my properties are. And above the map, I have a part of the legend that says the map reflects 0 to 20 of 14. So 14 is the total. That's the result of the search that I set up for October 3rd to October 31st for only multifamily in all of Orange County. So that includes North County, South County, West County, East, is the whole Orange County. This is everything that's currently set to go to sale in this time frame that's approximately 30 days. Okay, now in this grouping, I have these green push pins on the map that indicate the properties that are set to go. Okay, and I notice again, since it's 0 to 20 of 14, that means there's only 14 records to see, and they're all visible because the map reflects all 14. Now, if it said 0 to 20 of 34, then I'd know that I was missing some, and in order to see those, I would go down here right below the map where it says show 20, 40, 60. I would click on the 40 because that's a number bigger than 34, and I'd be able to see all 34 records below, but I've only got 14. So we're going to get to go shopping for upcoming sales, and we're going to get an idea of what's going on. Now, notice whenever I do a search of notice of sale records in the system, because I didn't really define this too tightly, what's happening is they're sorted for me already by sale date because they're notice of sale records, and our system chooses to sort by auction date because with this first one on the list that's set for October 6th, I know my priorities. My priorities are to start at the top of the list at the property that's going to go to sale first, and then move through my properties categorically all the way down to this one in Laguna Woods that's supposed to go to sale on October 26th. I got plenty of time to research that one, but my schedule for the one here in Dana Point on Via California is real tight. So the system is giving them to me by date, so I know where to focus to get to work on my deals. Now, from left to right, I have an address, I have a city, I have a zip code, Then I have a lot size and a square footage. Now, you won't always, in Orange County and some other counties, you won't always see a specific lot size or square footage if for some reason that information did not get input. Now, this is missing some information, so this one's going to require some additional research because I don't have a lot size, I don't have a square footage, I don't have a bed and bath count. So I got some unanswered questions, don't I, that would help me to determine whether or not I want to buy this property, and if so, what I want to pay for it. But I can make some other assessments just to get an idea. And I'm going to start off with the main column. The big question is, what's the property worth? And this is my estimated value. Now, since I'm looking at multifamilies, I've got a couple of choices here. I'm either buying because I'm going to turn this into income property, or I'm buying this because I plan to do a flip. You'll find that some people talk about buying and flipping multifamilies. I noticed that there's a guru out there that's talking about on radio how that's one of the undiscovered things that you can do. I'll tell you, for 35 years, the founder of our company has been buying multifamilies this way. It's no surprise to him, so it should be no surprise to you if you're using our service that buying multifamilies through this process is a great way to go. Now, here's on this particular property, we've got an estimated value of about $764,000, or about $750,000. We've got an amount owed to the lender that's only $324,000. Now, that's only part of the puzzle, because that amount owed to the lender is based on a certain loan, isn't it? And we always want to know what loan we're bidding on. So notice I move over here to the right to my loan position column, and this is to the right of center. We have two very important pieces of the puzzle. We have our loan position column. In this case, it's a numeral 2 for a foreclosing second loan. So whenever you see the loan position, it's usually going to be a 1. As a matter of fact, this is the only 2. So this is kind of an oddball, this Via California property. It's a foreclosing second, which is the only one on the list of 14 records, and it's the only one that doesn't have the square footage and the lot size. So this might be a newer property. It's definitely an odd situation for a multifamily for someone to be foreclosing on a second. That usually tells me that there's going to be equity in the property, because if a second's foreclosing, they see the dollar signs. Okay, if a second forecloses, that's because they believe the property has equity far in excess of the first loan, and they're willing to take this property to sale and become the owner of the property at auction, subject to that existing first, because they see a value in doing so. Okay, so here's the bottom line. We have a foreclosing second. Now, to the left of the loan position column is our senior junior loan column. Okay, now what the senior junior loan column does is it matches up to the loan position column to fit in pieces of the puzzle. And see, it says senior / junior loans. So senior / junior loans. So we have a foreclosing second. So a question I have is, what's the first? And this is the answer, $225,000. So without opening the profile of this property, I know that it's worth about $764,000, $764,000. I know that the first is owed around $225,000. I'm going to say around because we have an unanswered question here. But the answered question is the second's owed $324,000. Now, the second is owed $324,000, which is more than this $225,000 figure. So an unanswered question is this $225,000 going to be bigger than it was originally? Because $225,000 is the original amount borrowed. So let's shop a little bit. We're going to test this and see if it's worth our time. But one more thing I want to show you before I click on the profile is the auction equity. Notice our system says auction equity is $215,000. Okay, $215,756. So what that's telling me is, if you add these figures together, because it's a foreclosing second, the first goes with it. Important point, a second taking a property to auction does not affect the first loan. The first stays on the property. So when I have a foreclosing second of 324, this first that supposedly is 225 stays on the property. So it's very important to know if this 225 is an older loan, and if the second itself has grown over the years during the default period, because this 225 could have grown. It could be up to 3. It could even be up to 4. So we want to make sure we know the numbers. So now our system says it looks like there's about 215 in equity, because it's comparing this 225 figure plus 324 and subtracting that from the estimated value of 764. So even though we don't have a square footage or a lot size, Via California looks like it's got about 200K in equity. Let's do some more research and see if that's correct. So I'm going to click on Via California and open the profile. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to point out to you here, because this might even be even better than I thought. Okay, let's just kind of go through the motions of testing this opportunity. First of all, this property on Via California seems to be owner occupied. Notice that the street address for the property, 26211 Via California in Dana Point. Notice that it's also the mailing address up on top. Now, this is a notice of sale record, so it's not going to tell me exactly how much is delinquent, but I can make a good close guess, because I have the amount owed, the total amount owed, because the notice of sale has taken us to the final stage of the foreclosure, where the lender states this is what he owes me. Now, looks like we have Nilofer Faria, Nilofer Faria is the trustor. And notice we have a trustor and an owner. Same person, but two different designations. The trustor is the borrower. The trustor borrowed this loan that's in foreclosure. The owner is on title, but it's the same person, so that's a good thing. We know it's the same party. So Nilofer bought the property, Nilofer borrowed the money. Now, a couple of things. Notice we have two loans, and as we saw from the previous page, the senior debt is 225 originally, and I'm going to use that term strongly, originally. The 225 loan is from 02. Now, notice we have a second that's foreclosing from 2014, almost a brand new loan, about 2.5 years old. Now, a couple of points. That loan was 277. That's 277,000 2.5 years ago. That number is now 324,000. Okay, so we got a challenge to figure out, because if the first is 12 years older and was originally 225, how big could that possibly be now if the loan that's 12 years newer is behind by about $50,000? Okay, well, I'm gonna level another question at you, because this is how we reason stuff out. What if there's only one loan here? And what if the $225,000 loan from 02 fell in arrears, and then they got a modification to 277 in 2014? I'm going to hazard a guess, and I say that might be the case. We might only have one loan here, in which case this is a beauty. Okay, so now let's explore a little bit further. Now, I don't have a purchase date visible here or a purchase price. We're missing some information, but that's okay. We're going to play with this and find out what else we can find out. This is a duplex. I show 2 units. Okay. Because I'm missing a little information, we're going to zoom in. Now, I like to use the wheel on my mouse. It gives me more control. You probably heard me say that before if you've joined me for a repeat presentation. If you're new with us, then just bear in mind that you can use the buttons here to zoom in and out, but it doesn't give you much control, whereas the wheel on your mouse is much more flexible in terms of what I can do. Now I'm going to hit my bird's eye option just to see what I can see. So it looks like we've got a corner duplex. Okay, it's a duplex. So it's on a corner lot right off of Via California and Via Catalina. So if you're familiar with this area of Dana Point, it's not far from the ocean. It's in a fairly good spot. All right. Now, let's see if there's more information to be had from another site. You're going to notice we're going to encourage you to do further research and see if there's anything else more to know, such as, does this guy have this property listed? Okay, now I'm going to check Zillow really quick by clicking right here under Property Details, Views Estimate. That's a button. And that bounces me over to Zillow. Now, Zillow gives us a value of $690. And if I'm not mistaken, that's different than the value we showed. Now, using my browser, I'm going to click Property Profile. And so we showed $764. Zillow shows $690. This is the importance of comps. Always cross-check your market value. Okay, don't take one value and say that's set in stone, because it might not be. Okay, if I'm making an offer, I'm going to use $690 because it's a lower number. If I'm selling the property, I'm going to use the bigger number. Okay, that's just a general rule of real estate sales. So now I'm scrolling down the profile to look for his price history, price and tax history. And what I just wanted to see is, what do we see? This says in 94, this property sold foreclosed to lender in 94. Okay, that's a puzzle, isn't it? Because that was the only record that we're showing, is that in 94 it sold foreclosed to lender. So that's leading me to believe there's more to this story than meets the eye. Okay, so this party has a loan from 02 that I think has been modified for their 2014 loan, and which means that it went up in that time frame and has gone up again to 324. Notice the progression. This is why I'm thinking it's one loan, and we've got somebody who hasn't made payments in a while. That's what I'm thinking. Now, let's see if my thought process is right. So I'm going to take the parcel number, and those of you who've joined me before, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to left click and drag and copy by parcel number by hitting copy. Then I'm going to go up on top, and I'm going to hit my main page tab that takes me upstairs to my single property search, my favorite part of the website. And you're going to notice whenever we do these Friday presentations, we always do this, because this is how we see if there's more to know. So what I just did is I just did a search. Now this is interesting. I expected to see a lot more. I expected to see a lot more detail than what I'm seeing right now. So this indicates to me that this property just got a notice of default in April. So this is like his first trip around the woods, which really surprises me. That would mean to me, since he has an 02 first and this 2014 loan that I think is a modification of the other loan, this one demands title research, because I have a real odd feeling about this one, okay? Because there's a lot of information that's missing, okay? And I have a hunch that when this property foreclosed to lender in 94, as we saw on the Zillow page, either this guy bought it as an REO, or he was the original person who got foreclosed on in 94 and he got it back. Okay, if that's the case, then that would explain why he might have a loan here that's been in delinquency off and on since he borrowed the money in 02, and got a modification in 2014, and he's still hanging on. Okay, so I just looked at the notice of default. So look at this delinquency. See follow my train of thought? Look at my delinquent amount in April. This says $312,000. This is weird. Okay, I got to tell you, from a professional point of view, this one's weird. Okay, because he's owing the whole debt. They're calling the whole note. So I could be mistaken. This might not be a a modification, or this is a modification where one of the terms of the modification was if he fell down, they were going to call the whole note due. So, because why would the whole note be due on a loan that's only 2.5 years old? So who's this lender? Athos Cap Group Inc. Never heard of them. Okay, now I'm going to close out. This is the notice of default. Notice what I had done is I just wanted to look at this other record because I knew the notice of sale was the one that I was looking at. So California TD Specialist is the trustee here, right? Notice they're put here under the name of the beneficiary as a single point of contact. That's because the lender is stating on the notice of sale that they don't want this owner to contact them as a bank. They want them to contact the trustee. They don't want them to talk. They don't want to talk. Okay, so this is a lender that's calling the full value of the note and was doing so at the notice of default stage, indicating to me that they're calling this whole note due. So the terms of this loan, this must have been a very short-term note, okay? And it might have been a short-term note that was written to bring them up to speed because they might have already been in trouble on their first, or this guy might have just simply taken out a note to do some fix-up on the property, so he borrowed a short-term construction loan and didn't pay it. So whatever the cause is, okay, whatever the cause is, bottom line here is we've got an issue where we've got a property that appears to have a lot of equity, but is going to need some secondary research to make sure. And I have no idea what's owed on this first. I don't, because they haven't filed a notice of default or a notice of sale in the last 10 years. Now, it's not listed for sale. We know that because it's not on Zillow. Right? So my goal is to try and reach out to this guy and see, because he appears to live in the property, see if he's willing to accept an offer on the property and see if there's anything else I can find out. Now, I could try and reach out to this lender. Now, it's not California TD Specialist, mind you. It's, hold on a second, because I forgot to show you this. This is that notice of default. See this Athos Cap Group? Okay, that's the lender. This is the loan number right here. That's the loan number right there. So, bottom line, what I want to do at this point is I want to see if maybe I can reach out to the lender that's foreclosing on this second and see if maybe I can find out what's going on with the first if I offer to buy the note. Okay, now if they don't want to tell me, they don't have to. Okay, bottom line is this: they're foreclosing. If it goes to sale, I got to be prepared to bid, and I got to be prepared to take over whatever's owed on that first. Okay, there should be enough equity in this property to make it worth my while. I'm not absolutely certain, so this has a lot of unanswered questions. If you're good at digging, this is a possible deal for you, but you got to be a good digger. You got to be able to do some research on this and find out some more. Now, some of you are really on top of it, and some of you have access to the title chains. This would be one of those. I wouldn't pursue this further unless I did some further research through title, but this might be a heck of an opportunity. And we've got time running out because this is set to go to sale on October 6th. So even though this is over my head, unless I did a lot more research, I think there's some potential for someone who's a good researcher. Tom, you had a comment? That's possible. Tom's comment was he thinks there might be a change of ownership on the property. There could be a transfer of title, which caused them to trigger the calling of the note. Again, I'm emphasizing from my perspective, I think you might have a term on this note where it's very limited. Bottom line is this: I would pull a copy of the deed of trust. I would do some more research through title, see if there's any other information, because the challenge here is I don't know what's owed on that first. And since I don't know what's owed on the first, I could try and make an offer to buy the property outright. I don't know if this guy's going to take it, because this guy's been making money off this place for years and years and years. He's attached to it, and there's probably going to be a renter in there, at least one. Okay, so what I would do at this point is try and make an offer, do some more research through title. If I can find enough information for it to make sense, then I might be prepared to take this one at auction. Now I'm going to scroll down one more point. This is an odd auction. This is the Kaiser Boulevard location in Anaheim Hills. This is not your most busy auction location. So there's not going to be a lot of competitive bidders as a general rule, although there's an exception here because this has the appearance of equity if you do your research and it comes out to be true. Now, it's also been postponed at least once from an original sale date of August 26th to October 6th. So this process began back in April, we've got to follow this through. This one requires more research. If you do some more digging, if you find some more facts, I'd be interested. Now, if I want to keep track of this one, I can specify that I want to get updated when the status changes. Those of you that have been with me again before, you know that I like to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and set up an email update to keep up to speed on this one. Okay. I wish I could say I definitely would bid at the auction. I just can't say that at this moment because I really don't know what's owed on that first. And if it turns out that these are the same note, then I'd have to say I would be all over it to bid at auction. And you might find if you pull the copy of this trust deed that it refers to the original loan from 2002. So that's the first step I would follow in terms of researching this one further. But I'd pull both of these deeds of trust to see if they're actually with the same party. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. So I've just set myself up to be notified when this changes, and I'm going to go ahead and save this because I have an interest. This looks interesting to me, so I'm going to save this to my Bob's Houses folder and hit save. Okay, so that being said, notice that above the map we have a next button that can take me to the very next property on the report, and I'm just going to go ahead and click that one rather than go back to the other list, which I could do. So the next one is in Santa Ana on St. Gertrude. Okay, so let's take a look at this one on St. Gertrude. Now, notice from the report, this one on St. Gertrude, now we didn't have a status here, but it looks like, oh, you know what, hold on a second. This was a different search, so hold on just a moment there. That gave me Golden Lantern. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, it kind of gave me a different property. So anytime you run into that, you can always redo your search. Okay, because it gave me Golden Lantern. That was weird. Now I'm back. Okay, this is the one I'm looking at, St. Gertrude. Okay, now, so this particular, what threw me off on that one was the status said canceled and this one said none. That's how I knew that I had the different property. So I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes when you go from one search to another, you confuse the system. So anytime that happens, you can always go back and redo your search and fix it the way I just did. And now I'm seeing the property I want. Okay, so this is St. Gertrude. And now this one has a couple of oddballs. This one's set to go to auction now on October 11th, and this is at Chapman and Orange. This is a common location. A lot of bidding goes on here. O.C. Wen is the lender. This is a loan servicer. While that last one was a company I didn't recognize, I do recognize O.C. Wen. They take over a lot of problem foreclosure properties that have been going on for a while because they're a loan servicer. They take over the file. Now, what do we got here? We've got a duplex in Santa Ana on St. Gertrude Place. and not far from where I'm at, actually. This is right off of Warner, in between Grand and Main. And what we have here is a duplex where they borrowed the money in 2005. They borrowed $459,000. Now, notice that you're going to see some discrepancies here. I got to tell you, this is a yellow flag property as far as bidding at the auction goes. And let me explain what I mean. We have a trustor, that's who borrowed the money, is Odilia Lopez. That's all well and fine. But the owner is Stephanie Uribe. One of these things just don't fit together. Okay, this is not the same person. Okay, Stephanie just got put on title. Let's see when it happened. Purchase date, November 12th of 2015. So this was November, almost a year ago, that Stephanie got put on title to a property with a loan from 2005 that was originally $459 and is now today owed $699. Okay, so what is this telling me? First of all, whoever's the owner of this property, they don't pay their bills, and they're perfectly content not doing so. Now, they have the loan from 05 that's gone from $459 to $699. It's grown by $250,000. That's amazing. Okay, and they're collecting rents on this puppy. Okay, now it does appear that they're living at the property. The street address, 1011 East St. Gertrude, is the mailing address. So this property is owner occupied in one of the units, the others are rental, and they're simply not paying their lender. Okay, they simply don't care. Now, they've put the house in Stephanie's name, and it looks to me like they're doing so to prolong the process. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. There's a few things you have to check before you plan to bid at auction. This is an 05 loan. I'm showing a purchase date of 2015, which we know is incorrect. They actually bought the property in 2005 or earlier, and they recently changed title in November of 2015 for a different reason, not for a purchase, but because they needed to buy more time, probably to file bankruptcy to prolong the process of the foreclosure. Now, notice we have a listed date of April 4th. So this is the date that the notice of sale was published in the time frame, actually at the end of March. And so it's been postponed a bunch of times. So if you look down, you'll notice we have a May 2nd original sale date or initial sale date, and it's been postponed to like 5 times to 10/11/2016, and it still hasn't gone to sale. Okay, so don't hold your breath on this one. They could still have some more litigation in them to fight this further, because this is definitely someone, you don't grow a loan from $459 to $699 without having a little fight in you. Okay, because they've been in here, they've owned this place for a long time. Now, what I'm going to do is what I normally do is I'm going to left click, drag, copy. I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to drop in my parcel number, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to guess we're going to see a longer list of documents this time. Oh boy, we sure do. Now, I had a feeling, based on my intuition and based on seeing so many of these properties, that these people have been at it for some time, and it's absolutely true. Their foreclosure started in July of 2009. This has been going on for 7 years. Okay, and we have the same first foreclosing for 7 years. The notice of default issued in 09, and then they started a foreclosure notice, a notice of sale in 09, and the process, as you can see, follows the growth of the debt amount on the first loan because they're refusing to pay it. So it was $470 in 2009 when they filed the first notice of sale, and then it progressed from there. Just amazing. Wow, imagine how wealthy you could be if you could avoid this many payments on a property and collect rents at the same time. You know, you'd think they'd use these powers for good. Okay, so now this particular individual, they're doing what they're doing. Now you could look at the individual records and you can see Odila Lopez was the original owner. And I just wanted to see if we saw purchase date information. It's not there. Okay, I'm going to go back to this original notice of default. Not there. So I'm still missing some information here because I really don't know when they bought the place. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's try and open up Zillow and see if that tells us anything. First of all, it's not for sale. It's off the market. Zillow says it's worth about $507. We're just going to go down here and see if we can see a price history. Okay, so what we do see is this property actually went through the trustee's sale back in 2011 and they're still on the property. Okay, so these are fighters. As I said, these are fighters. Now, the 2015 listed for sale, this is actually with a realtor. So they did have it listed for $399. That's a short sale because we know they owed more at the time. Okay, so they had it listed for $399 and then the listing was pulled, but it didn't sell, did it? So I'm guessing they had it listed as a short sale to try to stop the foreclosure process, and the listing, either the lender did not approve of the short sale amount, or the party that was trying to buy the property couldn't fund their loan. For whatever reason, this was pulled in February. Okay, so this was pulled in February of 2016, but the process of foreclosure went from there. So I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to go back to my list. So what we see is that the lender's notice of default from 2012. Now, here's an important point. Notices of default can last a long, long time. They don't time out, they don't expire. So this 2012 notice of default, as long as they kept filing notices of sale, remained active. Okay, now their notices of sale are only good for 1 year. So you notice that they keep publishing new notices of sale and moving forward. Okay, so now this last one, the one that we're looking at right now, this lender is out of patience. Okay, now hopefully what's going to happen here is this lender is really going to say, I've had enough, and hopefully these folks have lost their options in terms of what they can do to try and buy themselves more time. You can only file bankruptcy so many times, and they're clearly playing a game. So I would be prepared to buy this one at the trustee's sale, have my cashier's checks be ready to go, and it's going to go one way or the other. I mean, literally toss a coin because it's going to go one way or the other. Because with this history, we know that these folks have been able to put this off for some time. Now, what I just did is I went back to the previous notice of sale from 2015 and noticed that the owner at that time was Mario Martin. So now we've seen that Odila was an owner, Mario was an owner, and this Stephanie was an owner. So we know what they're doing. We know how they're prolonging the process. Oh, and here's a Brenda Smith and a Kathleen Michaels who were the owner. So what do we have here? We have someone here who's very creative, and I like to use that term. It covers a lot of bases. I don't know if this one will go to sale or not. I know that as long as they have any tricks up their sleeve, they're going to buy themselves more time. I wouldn't hold my breath on this one, and be aware that they're probably collecting rents on this property and they're going to hold on to it as long as they can. So you can try for it. You can be prepared to bid at the trustee sale, but don't hold your breath on this one. There's much better deals. Okay. Now, the very next one is on Dresden Place in Anaheim. Now, this one, looking at it on the report, I've got an estimated value of $505. I've got one loan, it looks like, a foreclosing first. Now, notice That last property, the one on Santa Ana, had a second of $51,000. That one had never foreclosed, had it? So because we know the first started out at $450 or so and had grown to $699, we know that $51,000 second has easily grown over $100,000. Okay, so we know there is no equity in that property whatsoever. Okay, that lender is going to be desperate to sell it at the auction and get what they can. So again, if I could get it at the auction, I would set a low price, because also I'm going to assume it's going to take me longer than I think to get them out of the property, because that's the kind of folks you're dealing with if they haven't made a payment in 7 years. Now, Dresden has one loan. It's grown to 537. The property's worth about 505, so they're upside down. They're in a desperate position. And if I click on Dresden, I'm guessing this is also, okay, this is a triplex. So Dresden's a triplex. Now, not as financially in trouble as the last one. Okay, their original loan was 486. It's now 537. It's grown by about 50,000. Okay, so not too bad, but again, they are behind on an income property, so they've been collecting the rents and not paying their lender. Okay, now here you have Anna, and then you have Anna and Jose. So Anna borrowed the money, and then she added Jose to the title. Okay, we show that they bought the property in 06, and the loan is from 07, so that's all pretty straightforward. And it's a Wells Fargo home mortgage first. Okay, now scrolling down, we see the initial sale date was April, and it's currently postponed until October 11th. So again, this has been bumped back about 6 times by beneficiary request. So it's the lender's call on this. Now, I'm going to hit my Zillow link just to see if there's any more information. Not on the market. Okay, want to see if they've done any listings. Okay, nothing. Okay, it shows that it last sold in 97. Okay, so in 1997. So what does this tell me? Purchase date's 06, loan is from 07, they bought it in 97. So bottom line is this is a refinance loan, and I would have to do secondary research if I'm going to plan to bid at auction. All 3 of the last records, including this one, if I was going to buy at the trustee sale, I would have to do my secondary research because the purchase dates don't match the loan dates. Okay, and there's been changes of ownership. Okay, anytime you see changes of ownership, anytime you see purchase dates and loan dates that don't match up, you better double check or triple check all your research. I got to tell you, I wouldn't buy any property at the trustee sale without checking with a title company, at least one title company, and making sure the information is accurate. Okay, because if people change names, then you can have things that are hard to discover in a cursory inspection of the title chain. And any title officer will tell you that. That's why we pay for title insurance through an escrow, and that's why we do multiple title checks if we're going to place a bid at the trustee sale auction. Okay, now every one of the records in our system is reflective of what we have on the property. Now I'm going to go back and do what I always do. I'm going to cross-check to see if I have any other records in the system. Now notice, here's another one that has a history. Okay, this one has a history, and we see that their first, that's foreclosing, went up to 537 recently. It originally started down at 465 back in 2011. So they've been in trouble for 5 years. Okay, so if I go back to my very first notice of default on the property, we see that now the ownership hasn't changed really. Okay, Anna was the trustor from the beginning. She added on Jose. So that's pretty straightforward. They're just not making their payments. Okay, so this is an opportunity, I would say, to ask yourself, what am I willing to spend? Go make them a short sale offer, see if they're willing to take it, see if they're reasonable. Set a number, set a price for yourself on any of these properties. Set a price for yourself. don't be afraid to go make an offer at that dollar figure just to see what kind of response you get. That's your chance to see the property up close and personal. That's your chance to see if there's a fresh coat of paint and a brand new roof, or if the place, you know, needs a lot of work and that you're going to have to price into your offer or your bid price at auction the cost of upgrades necessary to bring the house up to your standards. Because what we're doing is we're taking advantage of someone else's situation that is not so good to create an opportunity for us to buy a property at a price that's well below market. And depending upon the location, depending upon our goals, we want to set a price point that makes sense so that we can afford to do whatever repairs that need to be made so that we can turn that property into a profit center, either long-term as income property or short-term as a flip. Okay, so now I'm going to use my mouse, my roller on my mouse. I'm zooming in a little bit and I'm hitting my bird's eye just to see the property. Okay, so it looks like we've got a series of similar properties. Looks like you got a whole bunch of triplexes all lined up. Look at these. These are all cookie cutter. So this is triplex row, and notice over on this side we've got apartments. So this is a rental street. This Dresden place in Anaheim, this is obviously a rental street. These are rentals on both sides of the street. And then it looks like you got condos over there. So we have an idea of what this area is. This is Renters Row. Perfectly great investment property. So I would go to them and I would offer to buy the property from them outright with my short sale offer, but also be prepared to bid at the auction. The lender, as I said, is owed $537, but they're not going to necessarily ask for that much. Our market value says it's worth about $5. I could perceive the lender opening up at about $400,000 if they want to end this process. It's been going on since literally 2011. Been going on for over 5 years. If this lender really wants to get shed of this property off their books, they might take it down to $500,000 as an opening bid. So set your price target and be ready to go. Now, next one, this was in Orange. Okay, this one's on Vine Avenue. Now this is worth about $582. The bank is owed $591, also on a first, so real close. Real close. So what we have is now we have an original loan from 06 of $513. And what is this? This is a duplex. Yep, this is a duplex. Okay, so what we have, this is off of Chapman in Orange. I wonder if that's near the auction location. Actually, this is going to be auctioned off in Santa Ana. Notice that we've had multiple auction locations, so that's one of the things to pay attention to as you're doing your research to buy at the auction here in Orange County, is that we have multiple locations. And so you could have a small group of properties here, like 14 properties, and we've already seen Kaiser Boulevard in Anaheim Hills. We've seen Chapman, and now we've seen this one here in Santa Ana. So in 4 properties, we've seen 3 sale locations. So it's very diverse in terms of where properties sell in the county in a given week, because these are all within the same week. So now we have Armando Montoya is the owner and the trustor. So Armando, it's his place. He lives at the property because the mailing address is the same as the property address. So he lives in one of the units and possibly is renting out the other. Now, purchase date according to this is 93 because Armando hasn't changed anything. He hasn't added anybody on or taken anybody off. And so we know this is a refinance first, so we know we'd have to go back to at least 93 to see if Armando has had any other loans on the property. Now again, I'm going to click that little link to Zillow. This also tells me that it's off the market. Zillow has a higher price point on this one. So again, compare your comps. Make sure you do. This shows me, now he did try and sell the property not long ago. So he's not averse to the idea of selling this unit. So that's good. Okay, he had it listed in 2014. pulled the listing in 2015. He was trying to get $679,000 for it. And let me go back up here. Okay, so according to Zillow, he was in the range. Okay, but according to our system, he was too high. So I'm going to go with our number, and I would go to this guy and I'd make him an offer. And if he doesn't take my offer, then I'd be prepared to go to the trustee sale auction, because he's down by about $80,000 from what he borrowed on the property 10 years ago. So I'd say we've got an opportunity here, and we've got somebody that's climbing an uphill battle. Now, if we go ahead and do that single property search again, just to see what kind of history he's had in the system. Okay, we see his battle with the lender started in 2013. So this has been going on for about 3.5 years. Okay, so again, we've got a challenged owner. He's in a desperate situation. We make our low offer. We be prepared to bid at auction. We've only got the one loan in play, so we know what we're dealing with. Okay. Finally, we're going to take one more off this list. Here's a property on 21st Street in Newport Beach. Now, this is a big ticket property. This one's set to go on the 12th. This one's worth about 1.8. This is over $1 million property. So we've been looking at some lower end stuff. So this one is on the Balboa Peninsula. Okay, what is this? Is this a duplex too? Oh, this is a duplex as well, on the peninsula. So let's take a quick look. Okay, so it's right by the docks. Okay, so we know what we got here. Now he's got a first of $999,950, so $1 million from 05. And this person now owes 1.7 on that. Wow, this is a person who has really stretched the envelope. They've got $1 million loan that they owe $1.7 million on. They haven't made a payment in years. So let's do our little search here, because we already know what we're dealing with here. We got a creative person. That's a scoundrel. All right. So their first notice of default came out in 2011 from this lender. They were $310,000 in arrears on this loan when the lender first issued the notice of default. That's amazing. That's a very nice lender. Don't you wish you had a lender like that would let you owe over $300,000 in arrears before they start the process of foreclosure? That's just swell. That's really nice. So what we have is a situation. Now notice here the trustor on the loan is Sabrina, and the owner on the property is John. Okay, now what did this be show? So Sabrina, now the new record just recently shows Sabrina as the owner. So there's been some transition of ownership during the course of this process of foreclosure. So John was just taken off. So this is interesting. You got Sabrina as the borrower, you got John as the owner. So maybe they've gone through a problem situation, maybe divorce, whatever the cause. Let's take it down to the nitty-gritty, okay? We've got a property that's in a great spot. It's worth about what they owe. Actually, it's worth what they owe on the first loan, but they have a second that's just as old. Now, if they owe double their first loan, they're going to owe double their second loan. So this place is upside down, way upside down. This one needs to go to the trustee sale. If they won't sell it outright, I'd make my short sale offer, try to lock them in, and if they don't agree to my offer, then I'll be prepared to bid at the trustee sale. I'd say you've got another lender here that is about at the end of their rope, and I think that these people are going to lose this property one way or the other, and they should list it and sell it if they haven't done so already. I'm going to check one more thing, and sure enough, it's off the market. These are some stubborn folks. Let's just see if they tried to list it before on their price history. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. So it shows me that the place sold in 94 for 335, and then it sold again 05, July 27th, 05, 1.3. So they bought it for 1.3 in 05. They literally came in with $100,000 down, and they haven't made payments probably since 2009. Okay, we know the situation. We could try and make an offer. You need to clarify from title who needs to sign it, because this looks like this is up in the air. Okay, but I would be prepared to bid on this one at auction, because I can promise you the lender's had enough. This is Bob with County Records Research. This has been another interesting shopping trip in Orange County, looking at multifamily properties set to go to sale in the next 30 days. Join us next time. We'll be back again on Wednesday at 2:30 to show you how to use research techniques on the website. And then next Friday again, we'll be taking a shopping trip in a different area, looking at different properties going to sale, methods of research, and how we can check out what deals make sense for us. Thank you, Tom. You have a great weekend, all of you. Thanks for joining us.